A man walked into the store, grabbed a TV, and declared, "I'm not paying because your AD said free delivery. That means free product." When I blocked his exit, he scoffed. "You can't stop me." Moments later, security walked in and replied, "Actually, we can." Alright, so this happened a couple years ago, but it still makes my blood pressure spike when I think about it. I worked at a big electronics retail chain in downtown Chicago. I was the store manager. Been doing that for about 9 years. Seen a lot of weird stuff over time, but this one made me pause in pure disbelief. It was a Saturday morning, and the store was already packed. We were running a weekend promo. Free delivery on any TV over $499. Pretty standard. People love not having to haul huge boxes up their apartment stairs. The ad was clear: buy a TV, and we'll deliver it for free. Note: free delivery, not a free TV. Around 11:10 a.m., I was walking back from the stockroom, sipping the worst gas station coffee you can imagine, when I saw something that didn't make sense at first. A guy was walking out of the store with a 65-inch Samsung Smart TV in his arms. Not in a cart. Not with a receipt in hand. Just straight up carrying the box like it belonged to him. My first thought was, did someone pull it from the hold shelf early? Or maybe, is this an online pickup I didn't know about? I headed toward him, keeping calm. I've dealt with all kinds of customer confusion before. I catch up to him near the doors and say, "Hey there, do you have your receipt for that TV?" Without stopping, he says over his shoulder, "Nope. Don't need one." He keeps moving. So I ask again, "Did you already pay for that?" That's when he turns around, stops, and gives me the kind of smug look you only see from someone who thinks they've found a loophole in the universe. He points at the big sales banner we have hanging up and says loud enough for other customers to hear, "Your ad said free delivery." That means it's free. I'm delivering it myself. So it's free. He grins like he just solved a riddle that would stump Einstein. For a second, I honestly didn't know what to say. I just stared at him. "I'm sorry, what?" I asked. He repeats it, louder this time, as if the volume will make the logic sound less insane. "It says free. So I'm taking it. You guys put that sign up. That's your problem." At this point, he's standing right in front of the exit, trying to push through the sliding doors while still hugging this massive TV box. I put my arm out, blocking his way. I stay calm. "Sir, you haven't paid for that. That's theft." That's when he steps forward aggressively and says, "You can't stop me." Like I'm just some minimum wage kid who's going to back down because he raised his voice. What he didn't realize is that I'm not new to this. And I don't let people walk out with $800 TVs just because they misunderstood a 3-word slogan. I didn't move. I just stared at him. I didn't have to say anything, because a second later, I felt someone big come up behind me. It was Mike, our head of store security. Mike is huge. Like ex-military, 6 feet 5 inches, all muscle, and walks like a bouncer on a mission. He steps beside me, crosses his arms, and in the calmest, most matter-of-fact voice says, "Actually, we can." You should have seen the guy's face. Suddenly he's not so sure of himself. The fake confidence disappears for a second. But instead of backing down, he doubles down like a kid caught stealing candy who decides to lie even harder. He yells, "This is a scam. This is false advertising. I'm not stealing, I'm just taking what I'm entitled to." People are staring now. A few customers have their phones out. Employees are standing still like they're watching a play unfold. I look at Mike. He looks at me. We both know what needs to happen. I step forward again and say, "Sir, we can walk over to the counter and talk about this. I can show you the ad terms. You're misunderstanding." He cuts me off. "No. I'm not stupid. I know what free means. This is America. You people think you can just lie in ads and get away with it? Well, not today." He tries to push past me. And this is where the situation takes a turn. He tries to run. But this guy, and I'm not body shaming, I'm just stating facts, is not exactly built for speed. He's carrying a box bigger than his torso, in worn-out Crocs, and he tries to make a break for it out the door. Except, he forgot that our store has double security doors. The first set opens. The second? Locked unless someone from the inside manually opens it or you go through checkout. He slams right into the second set of glass doors, nearly drops the TV, and lets out this weird, angry grunt like it's the door's fault. He turns around and yells, "Let me out or I'll call the police." Without skipping a beat, Mike pulls out his walkie and says, "Already did." That's when the guy panics. He tries to backtrack. "I already paid for this. It's under my name. Check the system." I have an online order. Now he's just throwing lies at the wall to see what sticks. I already checked with the floor staff, no such order exists. No one with his name placed an online pickup. No payment. No receipt. Nothing. He puts the TV down and starts pacing like a cornered animal. He's sweating bullets and muttering about how we're all gonna get sued. That's when two uniformed officers walk in. We know them, Officer Daniels and Officer Patel. We've called them before for shoplifting and disorderly customers. They're used to this store. Good guys, super calm, always fair. Daniels walks up and says, "What's going on?" Ronald, we eventually learn that was his real name, throws his hands up and goes, "Thank God. These people are crazy. They're holding me hostage. I was just getting what your state law says is mine." Daniels raises an eyebrow and says, "And what's that?" Ronald walks over to the promo banner hanging from the ceiling and dramatically points at it like he's presenting courtroom evidence. Free delivery. That's what it says. It's free. I'm delivering it. So the TV is free. Patel actually laughs. Like a real, short, shocked laugh. Daniels gives me a look like, "Is this guy serious?" I walk over and hand them a printed copy of the full ad from our weekly flyer. It clearly states the terms, buy a TV, get free delivery. They read it. Nod. Look back at Ronald. "Sir, you didn't buy anything," Daniels says. I was about to. But then he blocked me. "You were leaving the store," Patel points out. "With the TV." Ronald starts getting loud again. "This is a setup. I'm gonna call my lawyer. You can't do this to me." At this point, Mike calmly says, "You want to press charges?" And I say, "Absolutely." That's when Ronald makes one last, desperate attempt to spin the situation. He actually drops to his knees and starts hugging the TV box. He's sitting on the floor, arms wrapped around this giant Samsung box, yelling, "This is mine. I claim it. I claim it by law. I'm taking it, and you can't stop me." He's sweating. His Crocs have fallen off. There are kids in the store staring. I hear someone whisper, "Is this a prank?" Daniels kneels down beside him and says softly, "Sir, stand up. You're under arrest." And then he just shuts down. Goes quiet. Doesn't fight. Doesn't say another word. They cuff him, gently, and walk him out of the store. People clapped. Not exaggerating, full clapping, like at the end of a bad play where the audience is just relieved it's over. I stood there for a long second, watching them walk him out, still trying to figure out if I had hallucinated the entire thing. That was just the beginning. What happened after that? Well, let's just say it didn't end with the arrest. So Ronald is gone. Cuffed, escorted out. The store slowly starts breathing again. Customers go back to browsing. One older lady actually came up to me and said, "Good for you." Then bought the exact same TV, and paid for it, which was some poetic justice. I thought that was the end of it. I really did. But 3 days later, on Tuesday morning, I get called into the back office by our district manager, Phil. Now, Phil's a good guy. All business, clean cut, always smells like cologne and copier paper. When he calls you into the office, it's either really good news or someone's threatening to sue. This time? Door closed, blinds down, serious face. He slides a folder across the desk and says, "We've got a situation." I open it up and, no joke, Ronald filed a formal complaint against me, Mike, and the store. A massive one. Not just with the company, but with the Better Business Bureau, a local consumer rights group, and even tried filing a police report saying we assaulted him and stole his TV. Yes. You read that right. He told every one of them that he paid for the TV, that I attacked him, and that Mike used military intimidation tactics to physically corner him like an animal. His words. Phil was shaking his head while I flipped through all this crap. Photos from the ad were printed and highlighted. He had even scribbled false advertising, in red marker like it was a court exhibit. And the best part? A grainy screenshot from a customer's phone recording, where I was standing near him, was labeled, "Manager preparing to strike." I couldn't even believe what I was reading. I told Phil. "You saw the footage, right?" He nodded. "Yeah, and legal already pulled it. You're fine. But this guy, he's not letting it go." Apparently, Ronald had shown up at 2 other branches trying to pull the same stunt. One in Waukegan and another in Schaumburg. Both times, security stopped him early. He didn't even try to hide it, just walked in with a cart, grabbed a TV, pointed at the sign, and said the same exact thing. "It says free delivery, so it's free." I asked Phil, "What kind of scam even is this?" He told me Ronald had a history. Some kind of minor record. Petty theft. Fraud. Even sued a pizzeria in 2019 because the delivery guy was rude and claimed emotional distress. Case was thrown out. But he keeps trying stuff like this, and occasionally wins small settlements when businesses don't fight back. But this time? He picked the wrong store. We pushed back. Hard. Corporate legal sent him a cease and desist for defamation. The footage of the incident was turned over to the police, all 4 angles high-res, with time stamps. And the cherry on top? We had his full name and address from the arrest records. Now here's where things started to twist. That Thursday, a letter shows up at the store, handwritten, no return address. Inside was a single piece of paper with just 3 words. This isn't over. It was in all caps, sharp black marker, the kind that bleeds through paper. No signature. No contact info. But we all knew who sent it. I reported it immediately. We had security hold on to it, and Mike handed it off to the local PD. They shrugged and said there wasn't much they could do unless something else happened. Spoiler, something else did happen. 2 nights later, Mike is locking up around 9:15 p.m. Last employee out. Cameras catch everything. A black sedan pulls up without plates, parks across the street, and just idles there. Mike doesn't think much of it. It's Chicago, weird stuff happens all the time. But as soon as the lights inside shut off and he heads to his car, parked in the side alley behind the building, the sedan slowly creeps forward. Mike noticed and kept his distance. Suddenly, someone throws something from the passenger window, a small object fast. Then the car speeds off. Mike walks over. It's a brick, wrapped in a piece of newspaper. He calls me immediately. Check the cameras. Now. I rushed to the office from home, logged into the system, pulled the footage. There it was. Grainy, sure, but enough to see the car and the brick. We fast-forwarded to see what paper was wrapped around it. It was the same ad flyer from our store. The one that said free delivery. That's when we knew. This wasn't about the TV anymore. This guy, Ronald, was obsessed. And for what? Because he misread an ad? We gave everything to the police again. But still, no license plate. No proof it was him. I was already irritated beyond belief, but then his Yelp review dropped. 1 star. All caps. Full of lies. Worst store in America. Staff assaulted me over a free TV I paid for. I am pressing charges. Do not shop here. Yelp wouldn't remove it. Even with police records and footage. Said it was within his experience. Corporate had to beg Yelp for weeks to even mark it as disputed. Meanwhile, he's still calling the store. Blocked numbers. Voicemails full of mumbled rants. Lawsuits coming. You haven't seen what I'm capable of. My cousin's a lawyer. It was getting out of hand. Phil calls a meeting. Legal's involved now. They're building a full harassment case. We're told to save everything. Emails. Voicemails. Every creepy letter, every online comment. Turns out Ronald had also created a burner Facebook account just to leave nasty reviews about the store under fake names like Truth Seeker 77 and TV Justice Now. Then, right when we thought it was quieting down, Ronald shows up. Again. In disguise. I kid you not. He walked in wearing sunglasses, a fake mustache, and a FedEx uniform shirt. He grabs a cart and heads straight to the TVs. This time, though, he's not even subtle. He loads a 75-inch onto the cart. Heads for the door. Mike sees him on camera and walks out casually, like nothing's wrong. Meets him by the entrance. Mike goes, "Hey, Ronald. Nice mustache." Ronald freezes. And then does the most ridiculous thing ever. He pulls off the mustache, looks Mike in the eye, and says, "You can't prove anything." Before Mike can reply, Ronald pushes the TV cart into him and makes a run for it. Again. He actually makes it out the front this time, but slips on the icy curb, falls hard, and starts yelling, "My back! My back!" As if we hurt him. Guess what? The whole thing was recorded. And this time, even better angles. Police were called. Again. He tried to play injured victim. Again. Didn't work. Again. But the court stuff? That hadn't even started yet. And trust me, it's about to get worse. After the second incident, the fake mustache FedEx cosplay fail, Ronald was arrested again. This time, with more charges added, attempted theft, impersonation, because he was wearing a courier uniform, resisting again, and a brand new one, filing a false police report thanks to the My Back Act. The officers who showed up? Same ones, Daniels and Patel. They knew him now. Didn't even need to ask questions. They just said, "You again?" and cuffed him while he was yelling about civil rights and saying he was going to sue the mayor. They took him in. He made bail within 48 hours. But the next part is what made this whole mess spiral even further into absurdity. 2 weeks later, I get subpoenaed. Not just for court on the theft and harassment charges. Ronald filed a counter-lawsuit against me personally. Not the company. Me. In his suit, he claimed I orchestrated a corporate conspiracy to ruin his name and embarrass him publicly. He said I slandered him online, got his car hacked remotely to track him, and bribed security to frame him for theft. It was 47 pages of handwritten nonsense, full of red pen notes and underlines. He tried to represent himself in court too. No lawyer. Just Ronald versus logic. We show up on court day. I'm in a press shirt and tie. Mike is there. Corporate legal is sitting beside us with thick folders and USB drives full of footage. Ronald strolls in wearing a beat-up suit, carrying a milk crate full of loose papers and one of those floppy briefcases you see in movies from the 80s. He looks at the judge and says, "I'm ready to fight this corruption." The judge, a woman in her 60s who looked exhausted just by breathing, takes one look at his evidence, sighs deeply and says, "Let's just start." Ronald immediately starts with, "First of all, I'd like to state that I am a sovereign citizen and not under your jurisdiction." The judge cuts him off. "Stop. We're not doing that. Sit down." So he sits. For 5 minutes. Then stands up again to object to literally everything. He tried to object to video footage of himself stealing the TV. He objected to the definition of theft. He objected to being referred to as the defendant. He tried to submit screenshots from a Facebook meme as evidence of false advertising. He even brought in a guy, his witness, who turned out to be just some random dude from his building who didn't even know why he was there. At one point, Ronald shouted, "You're all in on it. This is how they treat hardworking Americans who just want what's promised." He was sweating through his shirt. The judge gave him 5 warnings. On the 6th, she said, "Mr. Ronald, if you speak again out of turn, I will hold you in contempt." Guess what he did next? He stood up and said, "That's fine. I'll just take this all the way to the Supreme Court." Contempt charge. Removed from the courtroom. They had to physically remove him. The whole room was silent except for the wheezing sound he made as he was dragged out shouting something about freedom and TV delivery rights. But it didn't stop there. A few days after the hearing, I got a knock on my apartment door. Middle of the night. Like 1:20 a.m. I looked through the peephole. No one. Then I saw it. On my doormat, a box, wrapped in brown paper. About the size of a shoebox. No markings. No label. Just sitting there. I backed away slowly. Called 911. Bomb squad came. Whole building evacuated. I stood in pajamas across the street watching officers inspect the box. It wasn't a bomb. You know what was inside? A used universal TV remote. Just the remote. No batteries. No note. Just an old remote, half sticky, wrapped in a single sheet of printer paper that read, "Remote Justice. You've been warned." It was Ronald. It had to be. I filed a full restraining order. Court ordered. Finally got it approved. He wasn't allowed within 500 feet of me, the store, or Mike. Any breach, automatic jail. That should have ended it. But Ronald? He didn't give up. 3 weeks after that, we got a call from our warehouse, located in a completely different part of the city. Warehouse manager says someone showed up asking if he could cash in his free delivery credit. Said he bought a TV through the mail and wanted to pick it up from the back. Name? Ronald. He was back at it. Same story, new location. Tried to claim a fake order existed and that corporate said he could claim it from the loading dock. When they refused, he accused them of TV laundering. Warehouse staff didn't even bother arguing. They called the cops on the spot. Guess who responded? Daniels and Patel. Again. At this point, even they were tired. They said, "We're done with warnings." He got arrested again. 3 arrests, same guy, same scam, all for one Samsung TV that he never owned. But the weirdest part? When they searched him, they found a list in his back pocket. It was handwritten, titled, "TV Stores in Illinois That Owe Me." There were 18 stores on it. Some real, some that didn't even exist anymore. It had weird notes under each one like, "Parking lot unguarded, manager wears glasses, maybe soft." And, "Bring clipboard next time." Clipboard. That's when we realized, he'd been doing this for years. walking into stores, trying the same line, hoping one would slip and give him a win. And maybe, once or twice, it had worked. But not this time. Not with us. Thing is, we weren't even at the end of it. Because during his last court hearing, he dropped a bombshell that changed everything. He claimed he had proof that someone inside our store had secretly sold him the TV under the table. Said he had emails, bank transfers, and classified documents, showing a store employee was in on it, and that's why he tried to pick it up quietly. Guess whose name he dropped? Mike. Yeah. Now things weren't just about TVs anymore. They were about framing someone for an inside job. And the next thing that happened? It turned this into a whole new kind of war. After Ronald got arrested for the third time, and that weird list of stores was found in his pocket, we thought we'd seen it all. But the minute he brought Mike into it, everything changed. At that point, Mike had been my head of security for almost 5 years. No issues. Ex-military, sharp as hell, respected by the team. Quiet guy. Solid. The idea that he'd be involved in some shady backdoor deal was laughable. But once Ronald said his name out loud in court and claimed, "Mike sold me that TV under the table for cash," it wasn't just a joke anymore. It became serious. Legal told us we needed to investigate. Even if we knew Ronald was full of it, we had to make sure. That's how corporate works: cover all bases, protect liability. So, I sat in the conference room with Mike while HR asked him if he had ever spoken to Ronald outside of work. He just stared at them, straight-faced, and said, "I've never said a word to that man outside of telling him to back away from the door." They asked if he had anything to hide. He didn't blink. I don't even know the guy's last name. But then, and this is the part one wish never happened, one of the corporate investigators found a Venmo transaction from months ago. $75 from a Ron D. with the description, "Delivery tip." Mike didn't even flinch when they showed it to him. He leaned forward, looked at it, and said, "That's not from him. I helped a guy move furniture. Craigslist job. I got paid in cash and Venmo." They didn't believe him right away. HR suspended him with pay, but still, pulled from the store, taken off all shifts, pending internal review. And just like that, Ronald got what he wanted. He created doubt. The store felt different without Mike. I could feel the tension from the team. A few of the younger workers started whispering, wondering if Mike had really done something shady. Some customers even asked, "Hey, where's the big guy?" Like they could feel the change, too. 2 weeks go by. And then I get a call. Blocked number. I answer. Silence. Then I hear Ronald's voice. Calm. Controlled. "How's it feel to be unsure? To wonder who you can trust? That's the price of playing games." Click. That was it. Just that. But it sent me over the edge. I forwarded the voicemail to corporate and the police. I told HR I'd had enough. That Mike was being targeted, not implicated. They still said, "We need something more conclusive." And we got it. Because Ronald made one final, desperate move. A month later, he showed up to the store one last time. Middle of the day. Packed store. No disguise. He didn't walk in with a cart. He didn't grab a TV. He didn't yell. He walked straight to the customer service counter and calmly asked to speak to me. I came out, already tense. The second I saw him, my hands curled into fists at my sides. He smiled. Calm. Like he was about to ask me if I wanted to join a book club. "I'm here to return the TV," he said. I blinked. "What TV?" He waved a USB stick in front of me like a magician holding a rabbit. "The one I bought from your boy Mike. You might want to see what's on here." I didn't take it. I just called security. They were on him in seconds. But here's where everything exploded. As security was escorting him out, he started yelling. Not angry, not wild. Loud and clear so the whole store could hear. "I got the receipts. You think I'm the bad guy? Your security guy took cash from me. He wanted it off the books. It was his idea." People stopped walking. Phones came out. And then, from the front of the crowd, I heard someone shout, "That's a lie." I turned, and saw Mike. He was standing just inside the door. In civilian clothes. He hadn't been in the store in weeks. He stepped forward. His voice shook, not with fear, but with rage. "You're a liar. I never touched your money. I never sold you anything. I did my job. And you're trying to destroy me because you can't stand being wrong." Ronald turned toward him, smug as ever. "Then prove it." Mike didn't wait. He walked straight up to him, looked him in the eye, and said, "I did. I kept the texts, Everyone froze. Turns out, Ronald had messaged Mike on Facebook weeks before he ever pulled the TV stunt. Sent him vague messages like, "Got a delivery gig for cash if you're interested," and, "You cool with side jobs?" Mike never responded. But Facebook saves the timestamps. They were all there. Before the incident. Unanswered. Proof that Ronald was fishing for someone to bite. Mike handed his phone to the responding officers. They saw it. Compared the profile name. Matched. That was it. Ronald's whole story collapsed in the middle of the store, in front of a dozen witnesses, phones filming, employees watching with wide eyes. He was cuffed again, this time charged with filing false claims, harassment, and attempting to falsify evidence. It went to trial. He tried to spin it again. Judge didn't buy it. He got sentenced to 6 months plus community service and mandatory counseling. He screamed all the way out of the courtroom. Mike was fully reinstated. Got a formal apology from corporate. He didn't say much about it afterward. Just went back to work like it never happened. But something was different. He didn't joke around as much. He stopped staying late. He said less, watched more. The staff rallied behind him. One kid made shirts that said, "Free delivery is not equal to free TV." We all wore them for a week. Mike smiled for the first time in days. As for me, I sat with a lot of guilt. I didn't stand up for him fast enough. I let corporate freeze him out, even knowing who he was. I played it safe when I should have fought harder. He never blamed me. But I blamed me. Sometimes, doing everything by the book feels like the right move. But in the end, I learned that people aren't pages. And sometimes you have to slam the book shut and stand in the fire for your team. Ronald was gone. Banned from every store in the chain. Blacklisted. Flagged. But his shadow stayed with us for a while. Every time a weird customer came in, we looked twice. Just in case. The team stuck together, tighter than ever. Mike? He stayed for another year, then quietly left. No big farewell. Just handed me his badge one day and said, "It's been a hell of a run, but I'm done with liars." I never saw him again after that. I still manage the store. It's quieter now. But every time I see someone eyeing the TV section, I feel that spark of memory. The lesson still burns in the back of my head. Sometimes the most dangerous people aren't the loud ones or even the thieves. Sometimes it's the ones who know how to twist reality just enough to make you doubt what's right in front of you. But the truth doesn't need to yell. It waits. And when it shows up, it crushes everything built on lies. I learned that the hard way.